Welcome to Frying the Bacon with Pig.
So Pig, thank you for coming today. Why don't you tell us how things went pre-Korea?
Well, I think 2012 it was a really great year, not just for me, but for Australian esports, in that the ACL circuit started up. It gave all the players in Australia, myself included, a regular event to train for. Suddenly we could say to sponsors, look, we've got this cool circuit going on, they're doing a great job with stream production, and we'd fly out there. In Gold Coast link of the circuit, I came third in Sydney as well, and then I finally broke my third place curse in Melbourne in July. I managed to come first there.
How did that feel? Did you want to just like run up and scream, or?
I was so excited. I actually got a really bad flu like the very next day. So I remember even that night being a bit spaced out, and I remember just being hyped up on energy drinks and so excited because it was the first time I'd won something which was basically one of the biggest event in Australia at the time. And it was just a dream of mine, you know, being able to beat people who I really looked up to and really respected, like Moonglade. I just felt on top of the world when that happened, and I felt like my hard work was paying off.
Was that your first major win, would you say?
Yeah, I believe so. Definitely. Absolutely.
The biggest prize money as well.
Exactly.
That must have helped.
Definitely. Oh yeah.
Next after that, shortly after, in August, you started preparing yourself for WCS. And as we all know, WCS was a huge tournament brought to all parts of the world by Blizzard. How did you go there?
WCS was, I think, the highlight of my year. I mean, I've been to so many places this year around Australia and the world, but WCS just stands out as this great event, this kind of achievement where if I had to quit esports tomorrow, I'd be happy because of my WCS experience. I managed to come through and win WCS Australia, and that was so big for me. Just so huge. It's the first time in Australia we've had such a big live audience. We've had Artosis, Tasteless, HD and Pain User, and just the atmosphere was electric. You know, playing in booths, being streamed to the world, and being able to win that event was amazing. The next day I didn't do so well in Oceania. I bombed out a little bit. I came about 5th out of the 8 players. So that was a bit saddening. You know, it was kind of from this drastic high to this really big low. So it kind of sucked, but it was amazing. And even after a day of being a bit upset and kind of conflicted, the just overwhelming positivity of winning WCS Australia and experiencing the event just made me so happy.
Do you actually think WCS has helped the Australian StarCraft scene? Do you think people are getting more recognised? Are you yourself getting more recognition because you won WCS Australia?
Absolutely. The recognition from WCS is huge. You've got Blizzard paying to produce an amazing event. They're coming in, they're making sure everything's professional. You're getting driven to and from the venue. Your hotel is covered. You're being flown in from interstate or even overseas sometimes. The computers are good. There's a private area and lounge for the players. Refreshments are taken care of. It's a whole new level of players being taken care of. That allows the players to perform better, and also it helps put on a good show so that when it's being live streamed to the rest of the world and everyone's saying, you know, this is a Blizzard tournament. This isn't just some Australian tournament. It's a Blizzard Australian tournament. It's got great casters, good production, and people tune in. I find I get a lot more recognition from having won WCS Australia. A lot of people overseas have heard of my name now. I was really surprised when actually I traveled to Germany and some players actually knew who I was, even though I'd never met them or played them online before.
That's pretty cool. Pretty damn awesome. Okay, well, next let's talk about IEM Cologne. Now, you hopped onto a plane the very next day with Glade. How did it go after that?
It was an interesting experience. I mean, Gamecom is huge. Obviously, it was the day after WCS. That night, we flew to Germany. Luckily, we got a really nice direct flight on Emirates, so It wasn't like some grueling 40, 50 hour 2-day travel. We got there, we had a day to rest up. We got to then go and watch the open bracket. I got to commentate with day 9 during the open bracket, which was fantastic. That was really cool experience. And then when the actual tournament came around, unfortunately, I didn't do very well. I basically had been focusing solely on practicing for WCS, but I went there knowing I'd been training a lot and I thought I could do really well. And then I basically drew this group of death. And even then I thought I could do well. But when it came down to the games, when I was playing MVP, Cass, Nesty, Violet, and Feast, there were a lot of close moments. There were a lot of times where I'd match them toe-to-toe for a period of the game, and then just my lack of experience playing against such good players meant they'd just out-multitask me, or I'd be completely unused to the maneuvers they'd use. I'd just not be used to playing players of that caliber. So it was kind of an eye-opening experience after playing really well at WCS Australia and dominating some series, having some close series, but feeling really strong, to playing Nesty and Violet, for instance, in my strongest matchup, getting ahead against them, and then just feeling completely outclassed. So it was a very humbling experience at GameCom for me.
Do you think you've improved your play by looking back at those games and spotting where your weaknesses are?
Yeah, that's part of the learning process. Basically, if you don't, after a tournament, either watch the VOD or watch the replays or really think about what happened, you're never gonna improve and you're never gonna learn from your mistakes. And the main thing I really took from that tournament, well, there's a bunch of things. I learned that I was really bad against Terran. I learned that I really needed to just work on that matchup because I don't have many Terrans in Southeast Asia to practice with. I learned, okay, I've got to practice more with people overseas. I learned that I need to practice with against Zergs with great multitasking who are really aggressive because I couldn't keep up with Violet at all. So I learned a lot from that tournament. I took that with me later on, and I think I'm a completely new player compared to that tournament.
Well, that's great to hear, because after IEM, you didn't stop there. You won yourself a trip to Korea to participate in the IeSF tournament. How did that go?
That was really cool, actually. Coming back from Germany, you know, I felt like I'd been on this roller coaster. I'd trained harder than I ever had for WCS. I'd spent probably the month before that, no streaming, no coaching, kind of isolated, let's just practice. Straight going to Germany, bombing out there, so I kind of had this great victory followed by these defeats. And then being able to qualify for IESF over in Korea, getting myself another opportunity, it felt really good and reassuring that I had more things to train for. I had more things to do. So I traveled over to Korea, I competed at IESF. I did unfortunately lose in the best of 1 group stage. I went 1-2 in my group, losing to Zoka and Masterrock and beating Daishi. But it was a cool event. I met a lot of great players there. I met a lot of great friends from Europe who I normally don't get to go to events to. I had some great experiences, and more importantly, I got sent to Korea by IeSF. So I got to go over to the Prime House, and that as basically something which has really evolved me as a player. For a long time, you know, I'd heard you go to Korea, that's where you get good, etc. But then you'd also hear it mixed with kind of horror stories of people going to Korean gaming houses being isolated, you know, being ignored because they don't speak the language. And I kind of was a little bit 50-50 on, do I want to go to Korea? So I was a little bit iffy. But then when I got a ticket, I figured, you know, Prime is sponsored by TTE Sports. They were my major sponsor at the time. You know, I figured, let's stay here for a month. Let's see how it goes. I went, and I don't regret the decision at all. Basically, training with the Prime team, practicing with them, absolutely living StarCraft was the best experience for me. I didn't have to worry about cooking or cleaning the apartment at all. It's just kind of wake up, play games, go to sleep, play games. That's pretty much all you do. Practice with each other. I learnt a lot of things, like how bad I was with my keyboard hand. Certain mechanics, I wasn't stretching my hand as much as I should. I wasn't making use of all the fingers and the whole keyboard. I learnt a few great tips like that. I had the honor of practicing with Creator to help him prepare for Dongrai Gu, which actually ended up losing in the round of 16 and then winning in the round of 8. So I was so happy when I got to see him beat Dongrai Gu 2-0, get his revenge. That was really cool. It was just an awesome experience.
sounds great. Is there a player in particular who you can say helped you the most out of everyone there?
I would have to give thanks to Bung Bung. He actually left only, probably only a week and a half after I was in the house, maybe 2 weeks. But he was sitting next to me in the house, and he is an amazingly strong Zerg player who isn't known that well internationally. Because he hasn't kind of come to these foreign tournaments too often, hasn't done an amazing experience, an amazing performance in GSL. But he actually took the time to show me what was wrong with certain mechanics of mine. Even though his English is very poor, he always made an effort to communicate with me, and would even let me, watch his replays and kind of watch him play over his shoulder. And I learnt a lot just from watching him play and really dominate Korean ladder.
What a great guy.
Hells yeah.
Well, his English may be poor, but I think your Korean is pretty poor as well. So it goes both ways. Well, let's go to more trivial things. What did you eat in the house?
Oh, actually, I love Korean food. Luckily, I love chili. I don't think anyone should go to Korea if they can't handle chili. Like, you're not going to have anything to eat. But I mean, every meal you've got side dishes. If you've ever been to a Korean restaurant, you've got your kimchi, you've got like these black beans and like marinade. You've got these tiny little dried fishes in marinade that are kind of salty. All sorts of like, vegetables that have been kind of pickled in chili type stuff. Basically everything's in chili. You'll always have rice with every meal, and then you might have, some soup, whether it's like potato and onion or some fish soup or kimchi soup, which is actually really awesome. You've got like tofu and pork and kimchi just boiling away in a pot, and it's actually amazing. It's really spicy. I loved the food there. I thought it was really fantastic, and it was really healthy.
Wow. It's quite different to what you normally eat. Did you do any other like touristy things, or what did you find out about their customs and traditions which kind of surprised you, or did not at all?
Well, I was lucky that Master Brady, a guy, a Canadian pro who's lived in the house previously, I happened to see a blog of his on Team Liquid, so I messaged him. He helped just tell me about the Prime House customs and how they did things, because I really wanted to know what I was getting into before I went and just joined this Korean house. And I kind of was very self-conscious of the fact going into it that I'm interrupting their training and their house and their customs, and I don't know anything about it. I'd only qualified a few weeks before. It was really no time to prepare, no time to learn any basic Korean. So I knew I just wanted to try to fit in with them, try to follow their customs, do what they do. I knew in such a short stay, as about almost 6 weeks it ended up being, I did extend it. In that short stay, I don't have time to learn Korean. I'm here to play StarCraft, I'm here to learn StarCraft. As a result, my communication skills in Korean are pretty much negligible. I just got very good at broken English and the occasional Korean word. But in terms of like customs, there are things like sitting on the floor to eat. I knew that was something I'd have to get used to. I mean, they're fine for me to sit on a table, but I prefer to sit with all the guys, eat with them, just get more used to using chopsticks. I use them a little bit at home, but not very much. Other than that, I guess the Korean players, their culture, it's kind of more common to touch each other, put your hands on each other's shoulders, just as friendly gestures. Whereas I think in Western society, where, especially amongst males, if you don't play sport together, there's a lot of kind of like, don't touch me, or there's a lot of personal space. And I think it's a general theme to Asia. They don't have the same ideas of personal space that we do. Actually, there was a funny story where I got the subway during peak hour with all of my luggage when I was going home. And I was crammed over my suitcase up against a wall. And I was just observing these kind of petite Korean girls getting on the subway and clawing their way to find a spot. And they're all just used to this, and it's just standard. And I'm kind of like up against a wall, horrified, because I've got no idea how to interact, and I've got people jabbing me and poking me, and everyone there is just used to it, and I'm freaking out.
Would you say, if it wasn't for knowing all these things, that your experience would have been for the worse? Absolutely.
I think for me personally, I could handle going into a strange house with people who don't even speak my language and I can't communicate with very effectively. But I think that comes down to my life experience. I've I've kind of had a broad range of friends from different backgrounds back here in Australia, in Sydney. I've known people from all around the world, and I've lived in all sorts of share houses and things like this. So for me, I kind of knew that I have to adapt, and I'm someone who finds it very easy to adapt to a lot of social situations. But I think if someone's, you know, they like to do things their own way, they like their comfort zone, they might really struggle. So it's really something you've got to prepare yourself mentally for going in. You've got to say, I'm going to be ready to adapt to their way of living. And it's not like they're going to force you to. They don't pressure you into doing this, but they're just not going to feel comfortable around you unless you do try to follow their customs.
Okay, well that's a good tip for anyone wanting to go to Korea and train in a pro house one day. What else did you do whilst you were in the Prime house? You played a few invitationals and qualifiers, did you know?
Yeah, it was a really good experience. After dropping out of IESF in the group stage, I was a little bit annoyed, and I was thinking, oh, I've got all this training to do in Korea. But at the time, I hadn't qualified for IEM Singapore. That hadn't even been announced, so I didn't even know what I was training for specifically. I didn't know when my next big event would be. Luckily, you know, I got invited to the Fnatic Storm Invitational. I got matched up with Marine King straight away in that. I'd just been in the house for about 2 or 3 days. I hadn't had a chance to in-house with Marine King yet, so I was super excited. He's the guy we all saw in the 2nd season of GSL, splitting Marines like crazy. And he's a symbol of StarCraft 2. He's one of the most famous, successful players. So I was super nervous going up against him. And actually, he cheesed me in game 1, I cheesed him in game 2, and I was like amazed that I could even take a game off him, even if it was with the most mundane cheese I could think of. But we ended up having a really close game 3, which to me was a great experience. To think that here's this guy who I just assumed was going to crush me because it's my weakest matchup. You know, he's so good. He's just a better player who I look up to, and I'm nervous. And then, you know, we had this close back and forth exciting game where I felt like we were actually sparring with each other. You know, it wasn't I take a risk to get ahead and then I just lose anyway. It was we were both throwing punches, and that was really cool. Another tournament which I really enjoyed was the Iron Squid qualifier, the Korean qualifier for that. I managed to beat MVP Tails and TSL Center, who both qualified for Code A in the weeks following that. And then I got knocked out by Yonghua, who just came off 2 all kills. And actually, that was a really interesting experience as well, because I'd never seen a Protoss micro as crisply and use such beautiful timings as Yonghua. Both games against him, I felt like I was in this great position, getting my spines up, being about to morph my Broodlords, and he would just find this way to micro his way beautifully through what I thought was impenetrable defense. So that was a really good experience as well, because in the weeks following that, I actually really improved my Zerg vs Protoss, keeping in mind all these new micro tricks I needed to use to counteract Protoss micro.
That's awesome. You know what? In the Fnatic Invitational, I think the 2nd game against MVP
against
MKP, sorry, was when he had 0 SEBs left and wouldn't leave the game. Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
He only had mules, and he was just like, who is this guy who's beating me?
Yeah, I mean, I know that MKP loves his 2-racks and his command center first. He very rarely does a middle of the road sort of 1-racks expand build. And I figured, hey, wait a second, if you know they're going to do one or the other, and I actually can do a 10-pull Baneling, because it will actually beat either a double proxy racks or a command center first build, and there's pretty much nothing the Terran can do about it. It's something I picked up off Targa, actually, who's the master of cheese. Absolutely love Targa's plays. So yeah, that was really cool. I just kind of rolled in, and he'd obviously never seen this build before. Afterwards, him and Maru were sitting there watching the replay over and over and just laughing and thinking, what is this build? And just yelling in Korean, and kind of, they'd look at me and they'd go, good build. So that was really, really funny.
That's awesome.
It was a good way to break into the house right after, you know, I just arrived. It was really cool.
Other than that, you went to the GSL final.
Oh.
How was that? How was experiencing your first GSL final?
It was so cool to actually be able to attend that live. It was actually such a nice venue as well. It was this giant kind of indoor amphitheater type setup with these nice, comfortable seats. And if you go to the GSL studio, it's more kind of these fold-out chairs. The finals is like, there's fire going everywhere and there's like laser lights. Like there's points where you feel like you're at a rave. There's points where you just feel like you're at an amazing concert or something. It's really cool. They know how to produce their live events in Korea. It was really great. There's actually a lot of foreigners that are around, come down. So you see a lot of people wearing Team Liquid shirts and all kind of having their meetups with the different kind of groups that know each other through StarCraft. Watching Life play that series has inspired me. I felt like it was watching a Zerg play like Zerg should, you know. He was using all of his APM so effectively. You know, for so long players said, oh, against mech you can't use Zerglings efficiently because the Blue Flame Hellions beat the Zerglings. And that's kind of this simplistic view which a lot of people have got into when they're analysing StarCraft 2. They dismiss it as kind of simpler than Brood War and therefore X beats Y and Z beats X, etc. But you look at the way spectacular players like Life use their units and they just say, be damned to all the rules, it doesn't matter. I'm going to use things using my skill in a specific way, and that's actually inspired my Zerg vs Terran, which has improved so much since watching him play that. And just being able to sit there, watch it all. I got to draw up a little Go Life sign, which was actually really ridiculous. I have absolutely no artistic skill, but it was a fantastic event. Like, I was so happy just to be able to go there, watch it, take some photos, and enjoy the experience.
That sounds awesome, and hopefully you get close to being there to play one day.
I hope.
Well, speaking of GSL, you went and tried out for the Code A preliminaries. How did that go?
Trying out for Code A was a cool experience. There's a little bit of, I was trying to figure out for like a few weeks before if I could actually extend my flight, and I finally chased it down only a few days before I was meant to fly out, and confirmed it all. The airline fixed it all up. That was actually thanks to my lovely girlfriend Dot, who's interviewing me. It was really cool. It's such a nice setup. The computers are really well maintained. It's like this Intel esports stadium at the top of this shopping center. I think it's oh, I'm not sure, sorry. I was thinking it might be right near the OGN studio, but I'm not 100% sure. It's actually really nice setup though. You've even got good keyboards and mice. Like, you could probably play quite decently without even bringing your own gear. But I set up there. John was there helping all the foreigners. John's a really nice guy. I sat next to Khan, and I can't remember the idea of the other player who sat on my left, but he was a really cool guy who, yeah, unfortunately all the foreigners got knocked out quite fast in my session. I won my first round against a kind of unknown Protoss player who I was either very nervous or he basically didn't play very well. So that was quite easy. A 2-0, and then next I played Sky High, who was a Brood War Terran on CJ for many years. Apparently he was very strong. I didn't follow Brood War too closely, so I actually wasn't familiar with him. But I played him. The first game I was super nervous. I remember I did a really nice aggressive strategy, and he did just a really nice counterattack timing, which caught me off guard, and I'd missed just a few injects here and there, whether due to nerves or not practicing enough, whatever the reason. He managed to take me down game 1. In game 2, it was on Whirlwind cross map, and he went mech again, and we basically played this like 45-50 minute long game where he just kept on killing hordes of drones and I kept rebuilding them. And we were just kind of trading armies, and I had this massive infest account, and I kept ambushing his mech army with them and just fungling it out and catching it and throwing infested Terrans. And yeah, I mean, I watched the replay later, and I probably could have killed him a lot earlier, but it was such a fun game to play. This epic macro game, Zerg vs Terran. Game 3 was a really nice game as well. He went mech again, and it was a really nice close game. There was like 1 or 2 key errors where he did a really fast push again off 3 base, which was really powerful. And I remember I really should have counterattacked and base traded, but I kind of panicked in that moment of pressure. I tried to A move into his base, looked away and looked back and realized he had a wall off where I didn't think he did. So all my units had kind of decided to path around the opposite side of the map. and I freaked out and said, oh God, that's wasted a bit of time, pull back and just try to defend. Later on watching the replay, I realized I could have base traded, but it turned out by pulling back there and a little bit of miscontrol, some drones rallied through the battle as I was cleaning up his army, and my economy was shattered, and I ended up just barely not being able to hold on to my bases and losing the follow-up. It was a really close series, and I was a bit upset about it, but I took it quite well, actually. I guess the Code A qualifiers is so hard, no foreigners ever made it through. I was so happy just to have the experience of it, and I think by this stage I was missing home so much that even losing, I didn't feel too bad, because I knew the day, 2 days later, I'd get to come home to my girlfriend. So I kind of turned around, had a smile on my face, and Artosis was actually there watching, and he commented that, he's like, I'm surprised you're not raging, you know, after those losses. I would be, and I just said, look, I normally would be, but I'm just happy to have this experience right now. It was a bit upsetting to go out in that group, because my bracket was actually not so hard. I think I could have made it through, and that would have been, you know, making history. Mia made it through.
LGIM guys were on the next day, weren't they?
LGIM, yeah. Most of the hard players were on the next day. They were all doing
GSTL and stuff, so
yeah, I
did get the easy.
I had the easy group. I would have just had to make it through Sculpt after Sky High, NSOSO Sculpt, who I believe I could take, and Mia, who I regularly beat on ladder, who's a very good player, not to underestimate him, and he's actually doing well in Code A, I believe, right now. So it was a bit disappointing to lose to this guy who hasn't made any reputation in StarCraft 2, but it was a cool experience and I enjoyed it.
That's sweet. Now, let's see. Other than that, there's a few more things to go through in Korea now. Let's see, the Prime stream that went up. I found it really entertaining. I love NKP, he's such a cutie. I love him when he's trying to type in the keyboard, just trying to tell the audience to, you know, give more money and stuff. It's really cute. Now, you got to play a few of those guys on the show match and show them what you're worth. And how did that go?
That was really fun, actually, because there were two separate streams. The first one, the Twitch guy came down, I believe Albert from Twitch, really nice guy, came down. I just kind of woke up one morning and they were streaming this stream, and I was like, oh cool, okay. They did some show matches and stuff, and I believe he was like, hey, because a few Australians got on the stream chat, and like, oh, let Pig play. So I played Mario in a show match, and Mario I actually hadn't practiced with at all. He was always kind of just laddering off on his own, really strong Terran, but he completely underestimated me and decided, hey, let's get an easy $100 in this show match. Let's just do a one base kind of Hellion drop into Cloaked Banshee cheese, which should never work against a competent Zerg, so I absolutely crushed him, and then Mario was kind of looking upset that he'd thrown away a best of $100 show match. But, you know, I had to smile to myself and think, don't underestimate me anymore. Mario's really cute though, really cool guy. I also got to play Marine King in a best of 3. And the first game, I went for a heavy Ling pressure, and Marine King being Marine King had a single Marine, no wall off, 3 command centers, 2 engineering bays, and absolutely no production at all. So I kind of ran in with 20 Zerglings and just won. And after that, he decided to stop being so greedy, and he did end up beating me in the next 2 games. One was kind of close, one was a little bit one-sided, but it was good fun playing him. It was good to, you know, show, yeah, I can take Marine King when he's being super greedy. That was actually the majority of the time I'd beat Marine King in practice, is when he just put on his greedy hat and I'd kill him.
A bit of metagaming there, isn't it?
A bit what, sorry?
Metagaming there.
Metagaming, yeah. You've got to metagame Marine King. He's a massive metagamer. He loves to take his gambles, so that was really fun. Also Slog, who I'd met a few days earlier, came around for a second show match. And I had no idea this was happening. I'd met him like the weekend before, and then I kind of came out in my underpants from the bedroom right into where the webcam was pointed at this morning. And, oh, the webcam's on. Slog's here for some reason in the Prime house. And Gerard and a few of the Prime players are like giggling because they see me come out in my underpants. And I'm like, oh crap. And I ran away and grabbed some clothes on, came back, said hi to Slog, and ended up commentating some games with him. So that was a bit of fun. Slog's a really nice guy. It was always nice when there was someone with fluent English that would come and visit the house, and I'd immediately go, oh, someone to talk to in fluent English, yay. So it was really cool. The show matches were a lot of fun. It was good to have some competition while I was in the house, test out my skills, rather than just in-house practice, yeah.
Yeah. Now, speaking of speaking English in the house and stuff like that, you were in Korea for, what, almost 6 weeks, during which you were mainly in the house, so you didn't have many English speakers in there. How is that? You've grown up speaking English all your life, being surrounded by people who speak English. How is the transition from that environment to one where it's a foreign language? Is it tough?
Yeah, it's hard. I think some people could handle it better than others. I think I'm not made for that actual situation, as much as I can adapt to people's customs. When it comes to not being able to express myself through words, by speaking to people, I kind of, towards the end of the trip, suffered a bit from it. Just psychologically felt a bit lonely. Because I'm personally someone who loves to speak all the time.
Oh yeah,
in case, yeah. As you know, of course, having to live with me. Everyone, you know, I kind of draw energy from my contact with people. Just as a person, I love interacting with people, talking to them and sharing experiences, telling stories. So I guess the upside was I really started interacting a lot more on Twitter, on Facebook, and talking to a lot of friends on Skype. So I had that, but once again, being surrounded in the house, you know, I think the first month I was completely fine, but the next week and a half to 2 weeks, towards the end of my stay, I don't think I was as mentally prepared to be there quite that long. And I did start to feel a bit lonely, just a little bit apart, and I found it a bit harder to communicate with the guys because that toll on my attitude just made it a little bit hard for me to be as positive. And, you know, some of the guys would pick up on that and they'd feel a little bit more uncomfortable, I could tell. So definitely I think if I wanted to live long-term in Korea, I'd need to have someone with me who speaks English. As it was, one key way I handled it, 1 day a week, I didn't play StarCraft at all or only a few hours. I'd go out with English-speaking people that I knew over there in Seoul, and I'd make sure I just enjoy myself, experience the culture, and that would revitalize me to come back and train really hard the other 6 days of the week.
Well, that's a great attitude because you have to kind of get over that. If you're a pro gamer and you want to make it, I'm sure other people stay in Korea for a lot longer than you have, and you just have to make it somehow. So, okay, so we've spoken about Korea for about 10,000 hours now.
Yep.
Let's say, so you came home for a week, you saw me for a week, and then you decided to fly off again to IEM Singapore. Now, let's see how you went there, and you went pretty well in the groups. How did that go?
Singapore was a great experience for me. I came home from Korea feeling pretty in shape, very homesick, so I got to spend a week at home first, and I was really happy to spend some time with you. I enjoyed that time a lot. In that week home, I went and saw Circus du Soleil. I went and saw a Coldplay concert. So I had some like kind of revitalizing time. Also, I feel like it was the one tournament where I actually prepared really well for the opponents that I knew were going to be in my group. So I studied a lot of Vortex replays, a lot of MC replays and VODs, and a lot of ones of D-Killer. Unfortunately, D-Killer dropped out at the last minute and was replaced with Hasuobs, and I was actually feeling really confident with some prepared builds against him. So that was a little bit of a pain, because Hasuobs, traditionally when I've played him in the past in IEM China, he's always had this awkward style which is so different to the Korean style of Protoss that I do struggle to play against. So there were some ups in that it was the best international tournament performance I've had so far. There were some downs in that I don't feel it was what the potential I had after coming from Korea.
Well, that's just something you need to learn and get over with, and it comes with more and more international experience, as someone like, say, Glade would know so well because he's done it so many times. So after that, after getting a map score of 6-8 and not making it out, you got another taste of casting. How did you think this one compared to the last one you did with the Day 9 at IEM Cologne?
Well, at Cologne, commentating with Day 9, I got to commentate a single best of 3 series. It was really exciting. You know, I got to commentate like 4GG against JYP, I believe. It was a bit of a short series, but you know, I actually know a bit about PVT, so I got to, you know, talk a little bit. It was great. You know, I really idolized Day 9. I think he's a great guy. But here at Singapore, I got a bit more of a chance to get involved in the production just a little bit on the edges, and actually enjoy my time there. I got to cast Sting vs Vortex in the round of 8. Which was a really interesting series. I know a lot about ZVT being a Zerg player, and it was really interesting to cast that, commentate that with Jorisar, and just get used to being on a main stage in front of such a big audience commentating. It was really cool to actually experience that once again. From there, the next day, on the finals day, I got to commentate the Pro Gamer Free-For-All with Artosis, which was so fun. Commentating for an entire day is exhausting. Like, I've commentated a few events for fun on my stream at home while sipping on a beer. I've got, you know, I don't have any responsibilities to anyone, it's my stream. When I'm commentating at an event, even just a single best of 5 series that goes the full 5 games, that's, you know, an hour and a half or so of non-stop, you know, you're excited, you're into it, and that's great. But then you think about these guys who do this full time, they do that all day. It's unscripted. They've got to be exciting, they've got to be interesting, they've got to know what they're talking about, and they've got to somehow stop their brain turning to complete sludge so that they're actually saying intelligent things. For instance, on the final day, sitting on the analysis desk, doing that, basically watching every game, writing down the points in the replay we wanted to analyze after the game, instantly, as soon as the game finished, fast forwarding the replay, finding that point, trying to actually talk a little bit, while waiting for the replay to fast forward and keeping an eye on that in the corner of my eye. I realized, you know, this is really hard. This is hard work. This is tiring. And then you imagine the production team who are sitting out back, actually monitoring everything with no breaks all day, 12 hours. You can't imagine how much work goes into producing such fantastic events. And I'm actually thankful to be on the pro gamers side of the whole equation.
It's the guys in the back who you never see who do the most work, the hardest jobs, and they hardly ever get the thanks. So I'd say thank you to every single person out there whoever does that kind of thing, because it's amazing. It
is. It deserves a massive thanks. You know, every single person, whether they're an admin, an organizer, you know, people like Carmack who run the whole show, and the guys who do the sound, they do the video, they're cutting to ads. There's people doing interviews. It's all an amazing amalgamation of hard work that just builds into the great esports experience that we know today.
And it's easy for some viewers to sit on their ass and complain about the NASL sound guy or whatever, but they have no idea what's going on, do
Exactly.
they? Yeah. Okay, well, now that you're back in Sydney, you're back here with me, what has been going on? So let's see, you've been, for the past 2 weeks, you've been streaming non-stop, I can see, and coaching as much as possible. How's that now? Like, do you find it weird going back into this kind of regime after all that?
Yeah, I mean, the first day of streaming when I got back, which was a few days after I got back, I said, all right, time to get back into my schedule, you know. It felt weird. I'm playing on stream first person. I was kind of a little bit like, oh, I don't know, I just felt a bit clunky and everything. Coaching, I was a little bit like, oh, I'm not used to expressing, I don't know, to really just coaching anymore. So I missed it though. I missed a lot of it. In the last 6 months, I've been training and traveling to so many events. It was mainly about the last 5 months, yeah, actually, where I've gone to so many events. I've had so much time training, preparing for events, you know, booking things, organizing stuff. I haven't had time to coach a lot of people. I've got people that used to get coaching off me every week, and I really neglected them. So I felt really bad about that. I've got other people who have been contacting me for coaching over the last few months, and as soon as I got back, I sent out an email. I said, everyone, I'm here. I'm dedicated to this. I'm back to giving you guys, you know, the good service with coaching that I love to give people. I love to see people learn. There's nothing that makes me happier after a single coaching session with someone when a week later on Skype I get a message saying, I just hit diamond, you know, your advice helped so much. I'm really good at Zerg versus Protoss now, or whatever matchup they're having trouble with. So that, it makes me happy. And you know, it's my regular source of income. When I'm sitting at home and there's no tournaments on, I can make some money that way, just help me pay the bills. Streaming as well is something which I love to do. I love for people to, I always stream my coaching. I love people to watch that. I love to be able to interact with people, and like that's where I came from, you know. I never knew I'd be able to go to as many tournaments and travel around the world and do what I've done. And it's really been the people who have supported me, the people on my stream who hop on there every day and just give me supportive words of advice. Just basically say, you know, that they appreciate what I'm doing. I appreciate what they're doing in supporting me even more so. So I'm trying to give back to my fans now more than ever.
And you're starting that by creating some YouTube content. Well, starting from now anyway. What are you going to do in terms of that?
I'm really excited to get into YouTube because something I've been experiencing in my first 2 weeks back streaming, I've kind of been limited in my time. I've been trying to only stream during hours that work for me, which don't work for some time zones. Some people just haven't been able to tune in. Some of my fans have been coming on just as I'm finishing streaming and I've been saying, sorry, I've got to go now. So I realized time zones can be a bit of an issue. YouTube completely goes past that. I can put out content, everyone can watch it. It's really nicely packaged. I'm putting a bit more production into it. So I'm going to be doing tutorial videos. I'm going to be doing interviews like this where I update people on what's going on. When I'm at events, maybe I'll do some interviews with other personalities. If we've got something interesting to talk about, balance, whatever, I'm going to be putting out regular YouTube content. That way, just getting back in touch with my fan base, really creating a new form of content that I'm really excited to do.
Well, that sounds great. And in addition to that, you're going to have another Stream Funday, which is your second one. And the first one was done as a sort of thank you to the C community for chipping in and helping you get to IEM. Now, this one is just more of a Christmas fun day where people get to have some fun and maybe get some tips as well. What else are you going to do that day?
Well, I'm thinking it'll probably be next Saturday. I haven't set a date just yet, but I'm going to be doing it on a weekend day most likely. And yeah, I think it'll just be a really fun day where I'll give out some mouse pads signed by Marine King, Tastosis and the Prime team. It's just going to be a fun day where I can actually interact with all the people who I used to see on my stream and I haven't seen in a while.
Okay, well that sounds great. And a free mouse pad signed by MKP sounds great too. Okay, so last of all on our agenda here, we've got your team. What's the issue with your team right now? How's it going?
Well, it's big news right now. Basically, my contract with TT Esports has just ended. There was no break there. We've had a fantastic time together. I think back to when I first got sponsored by TT Esports and I was kind of paying my flight just to the next city over to go to a LAN to qualify for WCG. TT Esports came in, they sponsored me, they've helped me get around Australia to events as well as overseas, and they've also helped me gain other sponsors. Gigabyte Notebooks, Ava Media, mwave.com.au, they've all kind of pulled together to support me as a player, which, I don't know, it's really humbling to just know that these companies are willing to help esports and to help me especially. It's really surprising and exciting at the same time. So they've helped me have this fantastic year. My contract's up now and I'm really looking forward to moving forward and finding, you know, a contract, whether with a team or with a company that really suits me and my goals in 2013. So I'm spending this time producing some content just as an independent player. I'm streaming, producing some YouTube content. I really want to take my time, spend at least a little while making sure I make the right decision with who I do end up joining. But it's really exciting time for that. So I'm a bit of a free agent now. I'm accepting offers, of course, if anyone out there wants me, you know, get in contact. Even if you just want to have a chat about maybe working on some content together, I'd love to do it with you.
Well, that sounds great. Well, I think that about sums up 2012. Do you have anything else to say?
I just want to shout out to my sponsors, to Dorothy, my girlfriend who's interviewing me right now most of all. Been an absolute godsend. I couldn't imagine someone more supportive in such an unconventional career choice. In times where I am literally qualifying for a tournament and with no notice except 2 weeks later, I'm hopping on a plane and going overseas. Standing by me all that time has just made me feel like the luckiest guy alive. So a massive thanks to her, to everyone who's tuned into my stream, everyone who's supported me, people that post on my Facebook or tweet at me. Like, it just makes me feel really involved in the community. It makes me really happy to be a part of the StarCraft community. I wasn't involved in esports until StarCraft 2, And what this community's made has just made me regret that so much. I wish I had been involved in esports for the last 10 years because it's just so awesome. It's so fantastic. And I just want to say thanks to anyone watching this. Okay,
and just to remind everyone, what is your Twitter, fan club, and Facebook?
Anyone who wants to keep up with what I'm up to, you can follow me at ttpig_sc2 on Twitter. And on Facebook, just ttpig, facebook.com/ttpig for my fan page. I put updates on both, just about what I'm up to and when I go live with my stream. Also, check out my stream at twitch.tv/ttpig. And check out my fan club on Team Liquid, the Pig Fan Club. Thanks, guys. Thanks everyone for watching. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I look forward to seeing you all in 2013.